All right, back to it. We do not have the word goal listed on there. That's because our goals for our quality behavioral health system are the domains that were written out and finalized in recent committee meetings. And going through each of the terms listed on the slide, I'll describe 3 key attributes, what the term means, followed by its purpose and importance. At a later date, as you start to build on the measures that have been written in the past or develop new ones, you'll need to know more about how to effectively write a measure based on these sections. So today, we're just going to focus on the common language. All right. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Performance measures make the most of your efforts by focusing them on what matters most. As Ariel came up with a great example, so we'll use dieting for the purpose of an example to make it relatable. Our doctor has suggested that we better manage our weight to improve our overall health, so that's our goal. In order to achieve this goal, we decide to count calories. This counting is the measure. That is the purpose of using a measure to track the progress in support of our goal. Performance measures are critical to identify areas of improvement as well as support improvement efforts that lead to positive results. A good measure helps to keep you accountable towards achieving your goal by requiring that you monitor the data. However, going back to the dieting example, simply creating one measure where you count calories may not be enough to assess whether you've improved your overall health. We often need several measures to one goal, and we may find that counting calories is not even a valid way to measure our improvement in our overall health if you choose an unrealistic target or target date and just end up starving ourselves. This is why all the terms listed on the first slide deserve some thought and exploration in order to create a healthy, functional measure towards a goal. The denominator is the group from which you want to affect change, or the number of equal parts that make one whole unit. The numerator is a subset of the denominator, or the number of parts of the fraction you are counting. So what is the purpose? In our dieting example, the denominator is the total number of calories you should consume every day. It's like a calorie bank. The numerator is the withdrawal from the bank every day. Both the numerator and the denominator can be used to paint a picture of how our work is going and what we can do better. So why is this important? If you're responsible for measuring and improving patient health outreach, then you absolutely need to be aware of how numerators and denominators are constructed. The wrong choice here can lead to misleading data that can give management the wrong impression about the quality of a program. So when you're setting up new goals and measures, make sure you understand the ins and outs of calculating numerator and denominator values. Okay. A data source is the origin of information for the rate that you're calculating for the measure. It could reference a report name, refer to a chart within a data dashboard, or it could be a description of the query written by the analyst to produce the results. It can also be helpful to reference the source system of origin as well. The purpose of the data source is to show where things are coming from. Even though these things change over time, we have a record of that change that accompanies the data that you're monitoring. It may be that for the first 3 years, you track a measure using data from a data source that requires your own business analyst to manually combine 2 different reports together. And then in year 4, the reporting process improves by changing to a new source system with automated procedures. While that is a great update, you may now see a negative influence on your performance measure results. Having this data source documented allows you to look back at the origin of the information, to look at these changes over time if you suspect that change influenced those results. Population is a 1 or 2 sentence description of the things you are counting. This can help other staff quickly and easily understand what you are measuring without having to decipher a methodology or calculation. This information is also essential to a data analyst on your team or with IT. They need to know what attributes are of interest amongst all the magnitude of data, both past and present, within a source system, and they will expect that you have thought about this. The methodology serves as construction blueprints for building out the technical details of the measure itself. The methodology should include calculation steps, which are a detailed outline that any business analyst or data analyst could follow to retrieve the data and calculate the measure autonomously. The purpose is to avoid issues where processes and procedures are not written down, they happen to be written down but had become outdated or inaccurate, or they are written and updated but are not thorough enough. They just contain so many rules of thumb or knowledge that they can't be followed by a new person in the role, which prevents any effective transfer of knowledge, skills, and ability between staff. Therefore, when you go to write out a methodology with calculation steps, be as thorough as possible so that you can improve reproducibility and transparency. Later, when it comes time for you to be audited, the methodology and calculation steps are the primary focus for providing direct evidence to support the assessment of the validity and reliability of the data that you're monitoring to support changes in your program area. As a measure steward, you're the captain of the ship steering your actions towards a goal, but you should have a qualified team to help you. Reach out to people to get them on board according to the RACI matrix, which stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. For example, some of your own team or direct reports can help to support you by having responsibilities related to conducting a literature review. Other staff may need to be consulted for their subject matter expertise, whereas leaders may need to be involved by being informed and weighing in as needed. Roles and responsibilities are not always clearly defined, both within the programs and within IT that supports these programs. So it can be hard for staff to understand expectations or be held accountable to those expectations. Defining what those assumed responsibilities look like will help to produce clarity where it is lacking. This is especially important within DBHDS because analytical resources are not staffed in each program area, and sometimes people wear multiple hats. Measure stewards must start to develop a shared sense of data stewardship with IT, which includes not only being responsible for the collection and storage of quality data within source systems, but also includes being responsible for preventing negative downstream impacts to systems or reports in other business areas that rely on this source system data. We all have to share the work and accountability to ensure the data we collect is accurate, meaningful, and reliable so we can improve the lives of our service recipients. A baseline is a guidepost that you only need to determine in the beginning of measure development. If you're the captain of the ship, then the baseline is the port where that ship departed. It allows you to later look back and see how far you've come with the progress. A reliable baseline is necessary to show whether the change you've implemented has had any effect on the data. Targets are benchmarks to aim for with your data results. They are often set by a governing body. So this is where literature reviews, online research, and comparisons to other states or programs can help to establish a reasonable target for your measure. Without a target, we end up exploring data aimlessly. If you are the captain and the baseline is the port of departure, then the target serves as a lighthouse, a way to see where you should be going with the results. There may be many lighthouses along the way, and it may be prudent to set different targets according to drill down metrics. For example, one hospital may have different target based on the population it serves. Target dates are the time frame for the benchmark you set when deciding on a target. The purpose of a target date is to indicate when success will be measured. Target dates often align with annual reports, but can also be projected many years into the future. However, data can be checked and monitored as frequently as you like. In fact, you may need to check your results each quarter to make sure you're on track for an annual state fiscal year target date. It is important to choose a future date that you can be comfortable with to make sure that the efforts you are doing to influence the data have time to take effect. Business knowledge refers to many things that only you or your staff within the business area would know when examining whether the results of a performance measure have been successful or not. These include rules of thumb, recent changes in the program, things coming up in the future, a glossary of terms, and a parking lot for ideas on how to influence results over time. This section has proved very useful to measure stewards as they often refer to this information and simply cut and paste into their annual reports, so it can save a lot of time later when trying to write up a summary of the work you've done or plan to do in the future. Wrapping up this presentation is the term reference. For measure documentation, you may opt to use reference section to keep information that you have and may need to use later. The reference section is like a filing cabinet where say you keep the deed to your house. You can't throw it away, but you don't need to look at it every day. So a reference section is a great place to cite regulatory numbers you need to reference in a grant application, or a place to cite the sources of the articles you found in your literature review.